and they lived happily ever after, alas. But nowadays, not every royal fairy tale can end with such an inspiring ending. More and more often, monarchs demonstrate that they are also people who, like everyone else, can fall in love. Or they can fall out of love irrevocably. This romantic story made a lot of noise at the time. It's no joke. The son of the Duke of Luxembourg refused the throne for the sake of his beloved. Louis, the third of Henri and Maria Theresa's 5 children, met Tessie Anthony in the former Republic of Yugoslavia, where the girl served as part of the Luxembourg peacekeeping mission. The sergeant, by the way, the daughter of a simple tiler, acted decisively and aggressively, and in a short time not only drove the prince crazy, but also gave birth to his child. The Grand Duke and Duchess of Luxembourg took the news with heroic fortitude. They fully approved the decision of their offspring and recognized the illegitimate baby as his heir. At the time of the wedding, both were 21 years old. On September 29, 2006, they got married and lived happily ever after. For 10 whole years. We've known for a long time that not all fairy tales have a happy ending, and here's another proof of that. What the commoner princess has definitely learned over the years from living with a representative of the royal dynasty is to talk about her personal life with virtuoso perfection. In an official statement, she noted that she was extremely sad to admit this fact, but she and Louis were indeed divorcing. Tessie promised that she would remain united with him in everything that concerns the upbringing of her 2 sons, and lamented how sad it was to realize that after so many years of living together, their paths were diverging. It is difficult to name the reasons for this event. The secrets of the royal court have always been hidden behind 7 seals. And the princess also encouraged the public that more comments should not be expected at this stage. A curious moment. For some time, Tessie and her 2 children had to be content solely with the generic surname of her husband, Nassau, despite the fact that Louis himself retained the title of prince. The drop eroded the stone by 2009, when Tessie finally received the title of princess, and the children, Gabriel and Noah, became princes respectively. After moving to the UK, the newly minted princess, as is usually the case with titled people, did a lot of charity work. She has no plans to leave it, but she is thinking of combining it with continuing her education to obtain a master's degree in diplomacy. She's a determined girl, so maybe after a while we'll see her in the political arena. Princess Märtha Louise of Norway and Ari Behn announced their divorce in August 2016. Their love story was touching, their marriage was almost perfect, so the separation, which became the first divorce in the modern history of the Norwegian royal family, was hard for the public to accept. The meeting was predetermined by fate. Ari Behn was the son of a Norwegian princess's teacher. Henri said that if Märtha Louise had not belonged to the royal house, they would have got engaged in a couple of weeks. So great was his confidence that he had found his only one. Märtha Louise, by the way, shared his opinion and saw no barriers to happiness. Since childhood, she had wanted to be an ordinary person, not a royal person. But King Harold and Queen Sonia could not get used to the idea that the crowned virgin would get engaged to a simple writer, who also managed to become famous as a free-thinking artist. The princess easily said goodbye to the title of Her Royal Highness, becoming simply Her Highness. And in 2002, the lovers got married. Henry Behn supported his wife in all her endeavors. After saying goodbye to royal life, she wrote books, sang, worked as a physiotherapist, and even, according to her own statements, communicated with angels. But suffered greatly from the hostile attitude of the royal house towards him. The Queen thinks that I make too many mistakes. The princess gave birth to 3 charming girls in marriage. But even moving to London, Märtha Louise believed that her children should definitely study at an English school, did not help the couple to preserve their unearthly love. The last time Märtha Louise and Ari, holding hands, appeared in public was at the anniversary of King Harold's coronation, and after that, they announced that they were divorcing. However, it was not the divorce that became the most difficult ordeal for the princess, but a completely different tragedy. On December 25, 2019, Ari Behn committed suicide. He was 47 years old. The reasons for this suicide are still unknown. The reason for the breakup of His Royal Highness Prince Joachim of Denmark with Countess Alexandra Christina Manley of Frederiksborg is still unclear. Born and raised in Hong Kong, the Danish princess was a favorite of glossy magazines, and more importantly, given her democratic background, Alexandra's father worked in an insurance company and her mother was a manager, Queen Margrethe II. Northern Diana, as the Danes called her, bore Joachim 2 sons, but even this did not save the marriage from collapse. Gradually, the couple began to move away from each other, and in 2004, rumors first appeared that each of them had meetings on the side. Joachim with French economist Marie Cavalier, Alexandra with Danish photographer Martin Jorgensen. A year later, on April 8, 2008, the marriage was officially dissolved. For the Danish kingdom, this was the first divorce since 1846. Despite the loss of the title of princess, which she lost when she remarried, Alexandra's relationship with the royal court did not break off. The Queen of Denmark still attracts her ex-daughter-in-law to the court and, according to rumors, even gives her her jewelry. The statistics of marriages and divorces in the crowned family of Great Britain look very depressing. Queen Elizabeth II herself was the reverent guardian of the family hearth for 7 decades. But of her 4 children, only the youngest son, Prince Edward, is still in a happy marriage, concluded only once, registered in 1999. The only daughter of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, Anna is known for inheriting from her father both a sharp mind and a sharp tongue. That did nothing to help her avoid bitter disappointment in her family relationship with Captain Mark Phillips. The royal couple married on November 14, 1973, at Westminster Abbey, and tens of thousands of people lined the streets to celebrate the lavish royal wedding. However, according to the documentary The Real Princess Anna, the romance in their relationship did not last long. Princess Anne was married to Captain Mark Phillips for 19 years, but as a result, the couple decided to separate. Many experts cited the difficult nature of Her Highness as the main reason for the divorce, but today it is obvious that there were other serious problems in the couple. In 1977, the princess and her husband had their first child, Peter, and 4 years later, their daughter Zara was born. And by coincidence, it was after that that Anna's relationship with her husband began to deteriorate. They began to spend time apart, and Mark practically stopped appearing on joint walks with the children. It is also curious that the rest of the royal family did not make any efforts at all to help the couple restore their relationship. The People publication claims that this situation developed because the Windsors did not like Anna's husband initially. For example, Prince Charles openly called him muddy, found fault with his appearance and behavior. By 1984, Anna and Mark's relationship had deteriorated so much that they even stayed in different hotels when they traveled abroad together. However, in order to avoid a scandal, the couple did not advertise the obvious discord in the family. Everything changed in 1989, when the Sun published the letters of Princess Anne, which were obtained illegally. Most likely they were stolen. It turned out that by that time the Queen's daughter had become very close to another man. Buckingham Palace did not deny the facts and issued the following statement. The stolen letters addressed to Princess Anne were written by Commodore Timothy Lawrence, the Queen's assistant. We will not comment on the contents of these personal messages sent to Her Royal Highness by a friend, which were abducted and are currently the subject of a police investigation. At the same time, a royal insider told the People, "It's obvious that Tim and the princess were attracted to each other physically, but their relationship ran much deeper. He took care of her much more than her husband." By the time the letters were published, the relationship between Mark and Anna had become absolutely unbearable, so the couple decided to break up. However, they were slow to officially divorce. Over the next few years, there were many dirty rumors surrounding this marriage, which caused the scandalous ending of Anna and Mark's family life. In 1991, an art teacher from New Zealand named Heather Tonkin claimed that Captain Phillips was the father of her 5-year-old daughter. As she told the Daily Express, "My goal is to get Mark to publicly acknowledge paternity so I can put his name on his birth certificate." At first, Mark denied everything, but then it turned out that over the past 5 years, he had been secretly sending money to Tonkin. In addition, the DNA examination finally clarified the situation, confirming the paternity of Phillips. Immediately after the release of the results of the genetic test, Princess Anne filed for divorce. It was completed on April 23, 1992. In December of the same year, the princess married Timothy Lawrence. They have been living together for over 25 years.